We'll call this meeting to order. Have a roll call, please, Ms. Haley.
Ms. Acosta?
Here.
Ms. Cottaspati?
Present.
Mr. Fiocchi?
Here.
Mr. Holmes?
Here.
Mr. Medio?
Here.
Ms. Rios?
Present.
Mr. Sabrana?
Present.
Mr. Boardley?
Present.
Mr. Jennings?
Present.
For the record, Mr. Jennings will be participating by phone. In compliance with the New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law, commonly referred to as the Sunshine Law, the Vineland Board of Education has caused notice and posting of this meeting to be sent to the following: announcing time and place thereof, agenda, etc. The Daily Journal, the Press of Atlantic City, the Grapevine, the Clerk for the City of Vineland, and the Administrative Office Public Bulletin Board. Please rise for the flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to take a brief moment just to have a moment of silence for the passing of Kevin Vasquez. Thank you. We'll have a public comment on agenda items for anyone that wishes to come up. Ms. Haley?
I'll read them in order, alphabetical order. Ernie Marcacci?
Sir, you'll have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I won't need that much time. I'm here in support of the football resurfacing the whole field with artificial surf. Has that been addressed? Is that still a question? Is it approved? Is it not approved? Or?
Sir, we can't answer questions.
Okay.
All I can tell you is what's on the agenda.
That's on the agenda now.
You can take a look at the agenda and you see what proposed reductions are on the table right now.
Well, whether it's on the agenda, I mean, whether it's been approved or not, I'm in here in favor of this facility being resurfaced. I played football on that field a long, long time ago, and I've been in this city my whole life, and I've seen the comings and goings of our football situations, and I've been to a lot of other facilities, and all our other facilities, except a couple of them, I believe, are all up to par with the new football fields. Unless you're involved in recreation, athletics, a lot of people really don't understand the importance of a good facility, because not only will it prevent injuries, and the cost factor of maintaining something that every year you have to throw money into. So when you weigh the cost of that against a permanent situation, I think it would benefit everyone to go for the artificial. Now, if it does pass, I would like to compliment you beforehand. I would like to encourage you, if you haven't voted, to think about this. I think it would be a great day for Vineland, because we have a terrific football team. We have a terrific coach, and we have a great Board of Education. So we put all these things together. Vineland's going to get back on the map, believe me. We're there all the time watching, and I would hope that you would agree to this. And I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Marcacci.
Vicki Miller?
Vicki Miller, Vineland, New Jersey. You all know my stance on the turf. I am for sports. I like sports. But $1 million being spent now when we have a $2 million deficit doesn't make any sense to me. Not at all. And if you look up the chemicals that are in the turf, if a child has a cut, they can get MRSA. I looked it all up. I put it on my Facebook if anybody wants to read it. I think it would be great if we really could afford it, but we should look at the long term of it, what it could cause, the amount that has to be spent for the upkeep. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Louis Russo.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a very nice summer day. Hope your summer's going well. 154 Avis Court, of course, and president of the Vineland Education Association. I'll be very brief. In this situation, no one in this room is at fault because you didn't put yourself here. Unfortunately, we're here today because Senator Stephen Sweeney, of course, decided that he wanted to take adjustment aid from urban and underfunded school districts and shift it to suburban school districts. And he held the legislature hostage to make it happen. It's my understanding that the state is taking away $2.1 million after your budget was struck. So the state really is to blame here today. You only have two options. You can use surplus, three options. You can cut your already approved budget, or you can do some combination of the two. Obviously, you'll probably have to do both of those things. I just urge you, with all sincerity, to prioritize the educational program, because we have faced cuts to our educational program at all 4 levels over the last several years, and I won't go into that today for time's sake. But football can go on as it has for 120 years without artificial turf. Grass works. Landis School, for example, as you look at segueing that into the district administrative offices, can be utilized as it has for 90 years without an elevator as well. So that's some additional items to consider. I mean, no disrespect to the sports program or sports advocates, and I would ask them and the board to consider, for those extra items, for those perks, perhaps we think about going back to the way districts used to finance those things as extra items, put them in front of the voters as a ballot question. Bond for the money, and I'll help you pass it. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, Mr. Russo.
That's it. That's all.
All right. Dr. Gruccio, Superintendent recommendations.
Okay, I'm going to make this recommendation, and then I'm going to ask Mrs. Haley if she could please go into some detail and explain to the public exactly where we are finding this money and what our plan is. So I would like to recommend discussion and approval of the Finance Committee's plan as modified by the superintendent to revise the 2017-18 district budget due to reductions in state aid. And just so everyone knows, we did meet with the Finance Committee first. We came up with a plan. We got input from other board members. We revised the plan, and we continued to do so as of a half an hour ago. So I'm going to let Mrs. Haley explain to you what our 3 options were and what we ended up coming up with in order to not have to touch surplus.
Hi. As Mr. Russo had mentioned, it was back on July 14th that we received notice, as well as all districts in the state, that we have a reduction in our state aid. The amount was $2,059,792. They did give us 3 choices. They gave everybody the same 3 choices: to use surplus to maintain budgeted appropriations, to reduce appropriations for 2017-18, or a combination of those 2 items. As Dr. Gruccio said, we did meet with the Finance Committee and other board members, and we were able to come up with reductions of appropriations, which is item number 2. We did not touch surplus. I'll go through each of them. The first item was a reduction of appropriations of $300,000, and that was to reduce tuition based on the actual 2017. When you put a budget together, you're way far in advance of the end of that fiscal year, and you're very far in advance of the upcoming year. Since we just ended June, we took a look at what our actual tuition was for special ed and vocational and so forth, to see where the actual came out. And we felt that we could reduce our budgeted tuition for 2018 by $300,000 based on the actual that was incurred in 2017. So we did that. But like I said, when you work on the budget starting in October and then finishing it up around April or May, you don't know what that year is going to come in at, because children do sometimes come and go in the tuition aspect. The next line item is we cut another $300,000 in health insurance for open positions. Every year we budget for open positions, and we try to also budget for the health care relating to those positions. We budget based on an average health care amount, but sometimes those people are hired and maybe they have single health care instead of family health care. So we use an average. We also don't fill all those positions on day one, and some of them don't get filled. So we felt that we would take that number down and just see how it works out this year. The next item we cut was $107,292 in transportation. I talked to Mr. Calavini about that to make sure it was okay. And again, every year there's contingencies in certain areas, and one of them is transportation, because you don't know what type of special ed routes will come up during the year. You don't know if charter school situations will change sometimes until later. There's variables. So we decided some of this is really, I guess you could say, rolling the dice. Some of it is just fine-tuning our estimate. So we cut $107,292 out of there. The next item is postponed bleacher replacement at VHS South. Last year we replaced the bleachers in the north building. This year we were going to do the south building. I talked to Mr. Weaver to see if this is something that was a health necessity. He checked it out and said it is not. So we decided that we could postpone it until 2019 and reassess it at that point. The next item, reduce Fund 12 budget. We're financing the synthetic turf field via lease purchase over 5 years. We had budgeted $900,000 for the turf field. We looked into possibly lease purchasing, just as we do with the buses. A lease purchase is really a financing agreement. What it does is it spreads your payment out over 5 years. We were already going to finance our phones over 5 years. We talked to the Ed Services Commission that does this bidding for us, and they said that we can couple the field with the phones. It does make it more attractive when you go out to finance that amount of money. It becomes a bigger pool of money that you're looking to have financed. We usually get a rate of 2% or less. When we did the buses recently, it was 1.18%. So he worked the numbers for us, and what that will do is it allows us to take the $900,000 out of this budget. We moved the $300,000 that we had budgeted for phones to a lease purchase payment line item, and going forward, the payments will be a combination of $300 for the phones and $251,509 for the field over the remaining 4 years. We will go out to bid for that very soon and open it and award it at our August 23rd meeting. The next item was eliminate the budget appropriation for one vice principal due to retirement. We're going to fill that position with a substitute for fiscal year 2018 using our substitute budget appropriation. So that reduces the budget by $135,000. Again, that was an item that we didn't know when we approved the budget back in May, but that came to light afterwards.
Can I just add one comment to that? I feel very strongly that you need consistency for our students, and I would not put a substitute in there. But the only reason we agreed to do that is because we're going to try to get one substitute that would stay. And since we are redistricting, we didn't want to take a chance in case that VP wasn't needed after everything washes out and hire someone and then have them lose their job in 1 year. So this is just for 1 year. When we open the new school, we'll have a much better picture of exactly what we need in administration. And if we still need a VP at that time, then we would hire. So I just wanted to make that clear, so they didn't think we were just going to move forward with substitutes.
Dr. Gruccio, Mr. Ritchie has committed to the job.
Thank you. Okay.
The next two items were positions that we put in the budget as new positions. There was one special ed teacher and 2 aides. Those are not people that are hired at this point. They were just open positions that we were going to hire for. In the meantime, we talked to Mrs. Godlewski to see if she could use the existing personnel that she has, and she was able to do that. So we are just eliminating those new positions in the budget that have not been filled, so they don't impact existing staff. So the total of all those appropriation reductions comes to the $2,059,792.
Any discussion by board members? Mrs. Rios?
I just want either Dr. Gruccio or Ms. Haley to clarify about the grant that was applied for in reference to the turf. That way the community is aware that we're making every effort to regain that money back if possible.
We have been using New Jersey school boards to look for grants for us, and one of the grants that's available is an NFL grant for this type of project. So we paid them to work on a grant for that. The PO has been cut, and that grant didn't open up yet, but they will be applying for an NFL grant. Hopefully we'll get some money there. And we're also going to start looking for some corporate sponsorships to help offset the amount. One good thing is that none of the payments that we're making right now are for the turf field till fiscal year 2019. So it gives us time to fundraise or get grants, and then that money will be used to offset the principal and interest payments on that lease purchase.
Thank you, Ms. Haley.
Also, just to clarify, several board members are also partaking in attempting to find donors towards that project as well. Any other discussion?
We have a
Do we need a
motion.
motion?
We need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Roll call, Ms. Haley?
Ms. Acosta?
Yes.
Ms. Codispoti?
Yes.
Mr. Fiocchi?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Medio?
Yes.
Ms. Rios?
Yes.
Mr. Sobrano?
Yes.
Mr. Boardley?
Yes.
Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank
If I
you.
could just take a moment before we close the meeting, I want to thank the board. I know this is it's summer and we called a meeting in the middle of the day, so I appreciate all of you working hard to adjust your schedules and be here so that Ms. Haley can get this to the county and the state in time for our August 1st deadline. So thank you.
Thank you. We have opportunity for the public to address the board on any matter. Again, limited to 5 minutes. Mr. Marcacci.
If I'm to understand that the field will be redone,
That's correct.
I personally, and I think the whole city, would like to compliment you on your thinking. And I know there's a lot of pros and cons, but we have to look out for the future. We have to look out for our children today. And to be able to, I'm with the kids all the time, and when we go into another stadium, and you always hear them say, wow, look at this. And then we have to come back to Vineland, and our field is not in very good condition. So I think you took a right step, and I think the whole city will get behind you because our school, our football program is really growing, and the boys really, really love their coach. So with the help of Mr. Medio and with all of you members, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marcacci.
Board of Education.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none. Any board members wish to make comment? No? Motion to adjourn.
I'd like to say something real quick.
We already muted you. I'm so sorry.
Oh, so it's not only me that has jokes. I'm Dr. Gruccio.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm
I'd like
sorry.
to say along the lines of Mr. Marcacci. A couple years ago, I remember we put out word that we were going to start a dance academy, and we did that. And that wasn't all academic as well. And I think this is a move in the right direction, and I want to thank the board, the finance committee, and administration for working hard to put this together. I mean, this doesn't happen by somebody sitting around and just saying, oh, well, it's over. I mean, you guys said it's not over, and you guys made it happen, and I appreciate that. And the citizens of Vineland and the football team should appreciate that, and I'm sure they will. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, President Jennings. And just to clarify real quick, the football team is not the only one to make out in this deal. It's an all-purpose field, lacrosse, field hockey, soccer, pretty much anything. I mean, you could even play tennis on